Welcome to episode 8 of Filling Your Toolbox. I'm super excited for this one. This is an episode that I have been wanting to do really since the evolution of this podcast. This whole episode is dedicated to all of our new teachers that are just starting their journey in AACPS. Whether you are a brand new teacher right out of the box, coming from a different career, you're coming out of college and starting your career, or maybe just coming to Anne Arundel County Public Schools from teaching in a different county. This episode is for you. So our first guest today is going to be Alex Tugas, who we always play the 6 degrees of separation. So Alex and I actually were from the same town in Connecticut and ended up here in AACPS. So a quick hello to Alex. Hello, Alex.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited that you get to come on today. This is so fun. So this is this is my happy place.
This is your thing, yeah.
Doing this podcast for our teachers, so this is really exciting. So Alex is a previously conditional teacher and has 9 years of teaching under his belt and 4 years here in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. So, how do you like it?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I've had a variety of experiences from living and teaching at an all-boys boarding school in Connecticut, to then teaching at a private girls' school up in Baltimore County. And then I was at Crofton Middle School for 3 years, and this is my first year at Annapolis Middle School, which is Title I and IB. So I've had lots of new experiences this year. I also went through the RTC program, the resident teacher program with Debbie Montgomery.
Yep.
And that was an awesome experience.
She was our last episode, actually.
Oh, she was your last episode?
Yes.
That's awesome. So I look forward to listening to that episode. And she's been a great mentor and friend, such a wealth of experience in this system. And so with my variety of experiences, I've tried to leverage what I've done so far. Here at Annapolis, it's been a great year.
Yeah.
It's a busy place, but a fun place full of really committed staff. So I'm happy to be here.
It's a great staff here.
Yes,
it's always great
totally.
to be at Annapolis Middle. So just to get going with some of our questions. So with the experience that you have, think about one or two things that a new teacher. Think back to when you were a new teacher, right?
Yeah.
What is one or two of those things that you wish you knew to really just start the school year off strong on the right foot?
Yeah, I think there's, the best thing really is to jump right in some ways, and to just have that experience and embrace it. I would really say use your mentors as much as possible.
Yeah.
Use that Right Start advisor, use your department chair, your lead teacher, just to kind of lean on. I remember feeling really bad that I wasn't contributing enough at collaborative planning and things like that at the beginning. But just kind of know that your team is there for you and you'll be making stuff when you can get there. Just try to lean on people as much as possible. And really also set those routines and procedures early. I know that's a big Right Start thing.
Yes, right.
I
Couldn't
feel like each year, I still am a fan of some of the Harry Wong strategies. I always come in with a seating chart with numbered seats, and get them working right away on that first day.
Beautiful.
Get them working right away. By the spring, things are a little bit looser, but I feel like those first few months, especially routines and procedures right away. We're really lucky at AMS too that we do some of that IB, those IB lessons too. So that sets the tone.
Yeah.
I still have that essential agreement we made.
Oh, that's great.
From the beginning of the year. But honestly, getting student buy-in with some of your rules and procedures is really great.
Tell me a little bit more about that essential agreement.
So that's a thing we did here at AMS. This is my first experience with such a thing. But part of the IB curriculum and the IB ethos, I feel like, is that student buy-in and student agency. So we made some essential agreements at the beginning of the year that we would kind of follow. My 5, I'm just looking at them now, were respect the boundaries of yourself and others, listen when the teacher and your peers are talking, always try your best, participate and feel free to ask for help, and take pride in your learning. So those were our 5. Yeah. I'm gonna save this because this was my first one.
That's awesome. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a picture of this, and we're gonna post it up with the podcast.
And I think what we'll probably do next year is have kids sign it too. Yeah, that's great. And just kind of creating that.
So did you have a discussion with them about this? What did that sound like?
So this was when I was filling in that vacancy for 8th graders at the beginning of the year. And it was an ESOL push-in class, which was cool. Mm-hmm. So Holly Reed and I led that discussion with them, tried to narrow it down a little bit, and just try to create their buy-in a little bit.
That's awesome.
And next year, my goal is to refer back to it a little bit more. I think they know about it, but it's been a while. So
that's awesome. That's exciting to hear. And the fact that you're taking what you did this year and kind of refining it for next year. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your sharing everything. This is so great. I'm so glad. And you're my first mobile guest.
I love this.
So but and I look forward to hearing more down the road.
Thank you. Yeah, and good luck, everybody, as you start the year. You'll be awesome.
Yes. All right, thank you. So our next guest is going to be Jen Garrity, who comes to us from the world of elementary and middle school, former Right Start advisor. We started this new job sort of together as conditional teacher support specialists. So welcome, Jen.
Hello. Very excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. So Jen comes with a lot of experience, and like I said, both elementary and middle school. And tell us a little bit about, just really quickly, what was some of your experience? Where are you coming from?
Well, I originally started out in PG County. I taught there for 8 years in elementary, 3rd grade. I also went to school in PG County my whole life, so went back to my roots there and then made the switch to Anne Arundel County, where I've been the last 12 years, starting year 20 now, in AAC. And I worked at Nantucket Elementary for a few years, then Arundel Middle for a few years, and then Old Mill North, most recently, in the middle school world.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about what you think in your experience, thinking about what our new teachers need as they start the year off. They want to start the year off strong. What recommendations, what advice would you give them to kind of get that year off on the right foot?
There are 2 key things I think I would tell them. First is to really think about their classroom management plan, and that encompasses the expectations they have in their room, the routines and procedures they want to set, and to really thoroughly think that through, if they can before kids get there, just how they want their classroom to run. And even down to the little details, like asking how to go to the bathroom or asking to get a drink of water, how you want to turn papers in, all those little details that really help a classroom function. And also included in classroom management, even behavior management. How are you going to use positive reinforcement with your kiddos? Even working in the middle school world, 8th graders love a sticker. So how do you plan on just reinforcing those desired behaviors that you want to see that, again, will help keep your classroom running smoothly, help your kids have a good time, help you have a good time as you teach.
Cool.
And then the second thing I would tell them is find a teacher buddy. It can be, when you start off, you're in your room a lot and you might feel a little isolated. So to make sure you do find your teacher person that you can bond with, relate to, because your friends and family, they're there for you, but sometimes they don't get what it's really, really like in the classroom on a day-to-day basis. When you're making a lot of decisions. So to find a teacher bestie, if possible.
Absolutely. I think that's perfect advice. That's perfect, just to kind of start the year off strong. And always reaching out. Like Jen and I are both coming from Right Start world, and we can't say enough. Use your Right Start advisor. Reach out to your Right Start advisor.
Yes, that's what they're there for. That's what we were here for, and we love to help. So That's literally our job, is to help you.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully see some of you out in schools in the not too distant future. So thank you for that insight, Jen.
You're welcome.
And hopefully we'll have you on in another episode.
Sounds good.
Thanks. We're going to welcome Julie Cares, who has been a friend for some time, as I was at Meade Middle School, and she was, if I get the title wrong, you're going to have to correct me, Director of School
Performance.
Once upon a long time ago when I was at Meade. So, and Julie is now here at Professional Growth and Development and has lots of wisdom for our new teachers. So I wanted to bring her on, introduce you to Julie, and get some insight from her for our new teachers as to what they need to start off the year strong. So tell us a little bit about your journey here at AACPS and maybe before in education.
Sure. I actually started my career in Florida as an English teacher, high school English teacher. I was about, 4 years as a general ed English teacher. My first assignment was 9th grade, and after that first year, I went down to the office and told them I would teach anything else. So about 4 years after that, a really good friend of mine took over an alternative school, and so for 4 years, I worked at an alternative school, which was actually one of the best jobs that I ever had, even though it was probably the second hardest job that I've had in my career. After that, I actually moved to Maryland, and I moved to Prince George's County, and I was an English teacher at Bowie High School for a few years. And I was fortunate enough to meet Mrs. Maxwell and Dr. Maxwell. And when he came over to Anne Arundel County, he was able to bring me over to Anne Arundel County as an administrative intern. So I went to North County as an administrative intern, assistant principal, and then I became a principal there, which actually was the first hardest job that I've had in my career, and also the one that I loved the most. And after that, I became a director of school performance, and then ended up in PGD as the director of leadership development, and that's where you will find me to this very day, in this very moment.
Thank you for sharing that, because
Sure.
I did not know that you were in Florida. That's kind of awesome. But I think it's really important for our teachers and for me to learn about like your journey, what brought you here, what experience you have coming in education. And the alternative programs is really kind of wild. It's really cool. And the work that you have to do in some of those buildings, it's really challenging, but translates so well into leadership and what you bring to PGD. So, and I think you have some valuable insight there for what our teachers need. So
it was challenging. I think the lesson that I learned at that school was we had a little bit of freedom, but we did really whatever it took to get a student to be successful. Yeah. And so now when I'm faced with challenges and people tell me, no, we can't do that or we can't make that happen, I already have experience that lets me know we can figure out a way.
Yeah.
So I don't usually let that stop me from figuring out a way. So I push people sometimes and say, well, why? What's the reason why we can't do it? And then I try to go to that reason and push that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a good piece of advice that when you get that no, it's okay to think about it and maybe come back the next day and say, I heard the no, but I'm wondering if you could give me a little bit more information about that no.
And that's such a huge piece of information, because I think a lot of times some of our new teachers might be concerned about like, what is my place? Is it okay for me to do that? And I think absolutely, right? I think asking the questions and reflecting on, if you get that no, how do I move forward? Because, we're all here for our students, and they're all our students. So I think that's a great piece of advice. I'm so excited about it.
Absolutely. And I think we have to do what we have to do to help our students be successful within reason, obviously. But I think we have to be more creative and more innovative and, intervene on our students' behalves. I think one of the things that's sometimes challenging as an educator is that, one of the things I realized in the last couple of years is if our students aren't good at school, school's built for adults. It's not built for kids. And I think we have to work as educators to try to make it a more student-friendly environment.
Absolutely. Oh, God, that was lovely. Thank you. I'm like, mic drop now. We're done. Out. Yep. Thank you. But thank you for that. Do you have, and I think we just kind of need to sit with that for a second. I do. I because I think, we hear a lot about routines and procedures and setting those expectations. But I think what you just said was one of the most powerful things that we can do for our kids. And I think, that just makes my heart happy.
If I could give two practical pieces of advice, I would say to really spend the first couple of weeks both building relationships and modeling for students both behavioral and academic expectations. So if you go the Cult of Pedagogy and you look up Michael Linson, he has a couple of podcasts on there specific to how to start the year off right in regards to classroom management. And one of the things he talks about is really modeling what it looks like to be in a group, what it looks like to be in a particular role. He models everything for his students over and over and over again. He does it at the 9 weeks. He does it at the semester. He does it at third quarter. And we think we know that students know what we mean when we say things, but they don't. Even if it's get in a line, we have to model for them what that looks like. Absolutely. Even when we say be quiet, we have to model for them what that looks like, because for different students, those words mean different things. And so our expectations have to be clearly modeled. And whatever your consequences are, every student should know. I might do this particular thing a first time, and this thing is going to happen. A second time, this thing is going to happen. A third time, this thing is going to happen. And we just have to be clear and consistent about those things that we put into place. But really, for the first few weeks, it's about teaching students how to be successful behaviorally and academically in your class.
That's just, absolutely. And I mean, you can't get much clearer than that. And I think that goes back to a lot of what we talk about in boot camp, and we talk about at new teacher orientation. But, we have so many new teachers that are starting after that. So I think that's just very valuable information for them to kind of get started off on the right foot. Thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely.
All right. And I'm going to get you for another podcast, I'm sure, here pretty soon.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Our final guests are going to be the dynamic duo.
Yay!
David Sembley, Manager of New Teacher Support, and Laura Hyde, Resource Specialist Extraordinaire for New Teacher Support. So what we've been talking about is what do new teachers need to get started on the right foot, to start off strong, to start off the year on a positive, strong, right foot. So we've been seeking out insight from teachers, leaders, administrators. I guess they qualify as leaders too. So just getting some insight from all of the people that have been in that first year teacher zone. So any insight that you would want to share with our new teachers as they start the year off?
Absolutely. So they need all the things, right? But if we had to, place emphasis on some of the most important things, there are two categories. We'll talk about both procedures and then that quality learning environment, which, and they go hand in hand, right? So teachers need to start out the year, and it sounds cliche, but it's true, with building relationships. Yep. Before you can really dive into your content or your curriculum, you've got to make the kids, or the students, I should say, feel welcome. And like they are contributing members of the classroom environment, and that you're excited about seeing them there. There's no magic formula for doing that, because students vary individual to individual, but it is incumbent upon the teacher to learn about each student as an individual, and then they can transition into those procedural things, which lay the foundation for how a class is going to be run, how it's going to work, what the expectations are, how they're going to treat each other, student to staff, staff to student, student to student, staff to staff.
Yep.
We have to model all of those things and be very intentional about them before we can worry about imparting the curriculum on them. Laura?
Well, I was going to talk about procedures, but then you said something that made me think about really starting to work on your presence right away. And by presence, I mean the way that you're going to stand up in front of the class and talk to the kids. And you have to do it in a way that shows confidence, even if you don't feel very confident. So kind of have to do a little acting job. You have to turn up your enthusiasm. You can still be yourself, but you really have to speak to the kids in a way that lets them know you're in charge, you know what you're doing, and that they are safe to follow you. So I'd say, like, work on your presence. And so David said procedures. When you're thinking about your lesson, a new teacher has to think about how you're going to do everything. So if you say, oh, the kids are going to talk to a partner about this, how are you going to explain that to them? What's the procedure for working with a partner? So when you're planning, you have to think about all of that stuff. How are they going to get the materials in a way that doesn't create a huge chaotic mess? And then one more thing. So the relationships, the procedures, and get a plan book.
Yeah.
Either one you're going to write in old-fashioned pencil paper style, or you're going to type, but you should have a plan book for every day where you write out what is going to be happening in each class and even what you're going to do during your planning block those days. Like, do you have a meeting? You're going to grade papers. A plan book will save your life.
I agree. And I think that's such an important part that we forget. I think we've heard like common themes throughout this whole thing about like modeling, routines, procedures, building relationships. But like getting back to that, like, you know, what is your presence going to look like? And then planning. I mean, planning is such a huge part of it.
It's everything.
And then, you know, David, you had said something too about modeling. And that's one thing that's been picked up throughout this whole our discussions with teachers and leaders throughout this whole episode is modeling for students. And it's just, that's such a huge part of it, you know, down to the nitty gritty, showing them like, how do I walk to go sharpen my pencil? When do I do this? So all those pieces are so crucial.
Yeah.
They are.
Just as starting the year off. But it's
so much frustration for both the students and the teachers can be avoided with effective modeling.
Absolutely.
So oftentimes I'll tell teachers, if the students aren't meeting the expectation, it's typically because you haven't shown them what it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to sound like. And so it is okay to intentionally pause or stop and say, we are going to demonstrate how we do fill in the blank.
Yep.
Or you can pick up a couple of model students to show, I like the way these two are engaging in dialogue. Watch how they're doing this. They're taking turns, or whatever the expectations are. So sometimes to just spell it out is not enough.
Yeah.
Let them see it and experience it. Show them.
Absolutely.
And you have to plan for that. So in your little plan book, if you want to do what David just said, you know, like tomorrow when I am having them do this math work, you have to think about what am I going to have to model for them, and put in your plan, you know, I'm going to have to model how to do blah, blah, blah. So you're going to spend a lot of time planning, lots of time planning. That's normal.
Yeah. I think that's a misconception. You know, we get that big overview, but I think one of those things that really kind of made me a really good, like a strong teacher, was just planning out all the things, like step by step, and what does it look like? What am I going to say? What do I want them to do? How am I going to show them? So I think those are very important pieces for teachers to know.
Good.
So thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Diana.
Always. Thank you. And with that, this wraps up another episode of Filling Your Toolbox. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us today and sharing their experiences with our new teachers. Thanks to our teachers for joining us. You can find more Filling Your Toolbox episodes on our Twitter feed at AACPS Right Start. And you'll also find a link to our brand new Google site with the same title, Filling Your Toolbox, where you'll find all of our podcast episodes, resources for those episodes, and maybe even a place for you to share your own episode ideas. So thank you again for sharing your time with us, and we hope this has been helpful for you. Have a great year.